This podcast is made possible through listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina.
Yo, what's up, beautiful people? I am Kennedy Alexander. This is Courtney Thomas, along with our DJ T.O., and this is the Audacity.
Some voices don't just sing, they resonate. Zenobia Joel delivers a rich, soulful sound filled with passion and depth.
Today's episode is all about the way that fashion influences culture and music. And we have two incredible guests with us today. We have Diko, Pekdemir-Lewis, and Chris Scott. Thank y'all so much for being with us. So I want to start with you, Diko. Can you give me 3 words that describe your personal style?
My personal style, I would say, is black, elegant, and edgy.
Elegant. I can see the elegance.
Yes.
That's wonderful. How about you, Chris?
I would say simple, unique, and trendy.
So when did you guys first realize that fashion was sort of important to your identity?
Oh man, that for me, being from Brooklyn and having to travel around Brooklyn,
Yeah.
I had to be different. You know what I'm saying? I lived in East New York, but I went to school in Bed-Stuy, so you actually had to have style to stand out. So I would say back from junior high school on through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Diko?
I grew up with it. So my mom is a singer, my dad is a tailor.
Mm.
And seeing my dad making the gowns for my mom and my mom wearing them on stage, that influenced me from the baby age on.
Okay.
So very young.
I can really see the tailoring in your brand. Can you talk a little bit to me about why you make some of the choices that you make with structure and maybe how that's influenced by your background?
I knew one day when I grew up, I want to be a fashion designer. And I made clothing for my Barbies and Kens. And then, fit and quality was very important to me. And I think that has a lot to do with the background of my dad. And then I did the traditional background. I went to school for fashion design, got my bachelor. And before that, I went to a 3-year school where you learn dressmaking and tailoring. So that's why all my clothing have always tailoring in it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I hear an accent. Where is that coming from?
So my accent is from Germany. I was born and raised in Germany.
Okay.
But my parents were immigrants. So my mom is from Turkey and my dad's side's parents, they are from Dagestan, which is at the Caspian Sea in Russia.
Oh,
and
yeah.
my grandpa is from the Crimea island, which is in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
But they all end up in Germany, met each other, and so my parents, and then had us children there.
Oh man, that's awesome. I spent a little bit of time in Germany, and with that Turkish background, I love a good. I know we're talking about fashion, but I love a good doner kebab.
Yes. I know.
I will
I
stop
miss it so
everything
much.
and find a shop and go grab some.
Yes.
That's cool, Chris. I got a question for you, man. You talked about being in Brooklyn and especially in junior high, needing stand out, and you use fashion to kind of do that. I'm not the most fashionable guy. I put this together.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, because I want to stand out but blend in at the same time. But when you're in high school, when you're in junior high, and you're putting together fashion, are you making up the rules as you go, or are you kind of following any established rules? And how important is it?
Oh, for me, being an individual has always been at the forefront, making sure I stand out. So, you start with the kicks and you work your way up. That's how I do it. As long as my kicks and my fitted is good, the rest come together.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? So you start off that way. And I've never been one to actually follow the trends. I kind of set my own, so when bagging jeans and so on and so forth was in, I wasn't really following that trend. I always had the straight cut.
Yeah.
Always like that clean cut. That's one thing my mom always told me. When you iron your jeans, you make sure you iron your jeans right. Make sure you go out presentable.
Yeah.
I actually had an older sister that would snuff me if I didn't go outside looking right. That's just how it was. She had to make sure her little brother was right, because anybody would pick on you.
Yeah.
And so just developing that. That's how I developed my style, being able to stand out and still be myself.
Man, I can relate to that. In that era growing up, especially late 90s, early 2000s, the baggy jeans. My dad never allowed me to wear big baggy clothes. So I used to get picked on for dressing like Carlton from the Fresh Prince. But then when Kanye West came along, then now everybody's dressing like Carlton.
Yeah, that became the style. Yeah,
Kanye and Jay also had a way of maybe bringing the look into more of like the mainstream style. I'm really curious for everybody. I kind of want to start with like Tio too. Like, who are some of those cultural icons whose style influenced you? Because I look at Janet Jackson as one of my style icons. But what about you, Tio?
I was just about to say Kanye, because like he said, you know, Kanye created a whole movement with the college boy look, and then, you know, everybody was doing one thing in music, and Jay turned everybody away from that, because it's like, oh, we 30 and up, we're not doing the throwbacks and that. We do button ups, and then what did you see? A shift. Everybody's on button ups and S. Carters or whatever. So growing up in Brooklyn, like, what artists maybe inspired you into like how you designed or how you wore your clothes, other than, of course, the Kanye and the Jay-Z?
Fabulous.
Fab.
You know, yeah, I went to school. I went to school in Bed-Stuy, so Fabulous was it at that point in time. Then, of course, you had Dipset with Jim Jones and Jewel Wells and so on and so forth, and then Jay. But you know, then Ye came along and changed the game. He kind of added like that a preppy style to it. So he had that street credibility with that preppy style, and that's how that, you know, you can go between those. You can go from Kanye West to, you know, Fab, and you know, that definitely identify.
Are there any artists or cultural moments that influenced your work, Diko?
Yes. So as a kid, I loved Madonna.
Ooh,
I loved Madonna so much, and I was always saying, "Oh, when I'm older, I want to be like Madonna." Now I don't know, but
fair, valid.
But back then, yes, Madonna. And then when I was a teenager, definitely The Cure and the goth scene. So that was my thing, and that's actually when I start wearing all black.
I was just about to ask that. I was about to ask that.
Black starters.
Yes, and I remember sometimes like older German ladies came up to me and they were like, is somebody died in your family?
Oh, no.
And I was like, no, I just wear black all the time.
I was curious how in Germany, was your style different than like the norm? Because, you know, we have fashion here. So was the black not a thing?
It is, but not necessarily by teenagers. It's more, adults wear all black or more darker colors, so also gray and charcoal. But mine, I think through the music influence, was heavily black, and I always felt so elegant. And then also Coco Chanel, she also had the little black dress, so it was so many factors playing a role that I end up wearing all black.
I'm the same way. Like black is like my favorite color to wear, or my favorite shade. Sometimes I know, like, when we put whatever outfits we kind of put together, it can, I guess, influence our moods or shows an expression of our moods. Would you say that that's true, or how does that affect you?
Oh, yes. So sometimes when we have theme parties and you have to wear a certain color, and I'm like, I force myself and I feel so wrong. I feel like that's not me. And so I stopped doing that. And I told people, if you want me at your party, you have to accept me the way how I dress. Otherwise, I don't come to your party. So I might add a little bit of color with jewelry or a little accessory, but black is the color.
Chris, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your brand and how that kind of shows up in the way you want to influence the culture.
Oh, wow. So Effx basically came from just me being creative during COVID. I bought a $70 t-shirt and I was like, man, I could have did this myself. And so I actually started doing it myself and went to Walmart, bought a couple of white t-shirts. And then before I knew it, I'm doing fashion shows. And so how it shows up is in community. The premise behind it is that I'm able to communicate. I'm able to get my message out. I'm able to interact with my people in the community. And so I always say collaboration is key. So this has allowed me to collaborate with different photographers, other designers, different shows and so on and so forth. So that's how it's showing up for me. It's getting me here, to sit in front of you guys. Like that's where it's showing up. That's why I'm proud to say I'm showing up in the community, because not being from here, I definitely want to be able to touch bases and just get a good feel for what Columbia has to offer.
Okay. How long have you been here?
I've been here since 2012.
Well, welcome.
Welcome.
I mean,
welcome.
It's been a minute, but you can't take the Brooklyn out the gate.
I hear it.
Question. So, not being that you're not from here, what have you found has been the easiest way to get your items in front of the consumers outside of the community, but the everyday average consumer?
Instagram. That's how I get Instagram and TikTok. I'm not too keen on TikTok, but Instagram has been, the driving force behind the brand. I noticed that if I'm showing my process, people want to become a part of it. They like to, feel like they're invested in you. So being able to show my process and also being part of the shows. I think a lot of the fashion shows that I've been a part of has given a lot more visibility to the brand. It's given me opportunities to put what I like, what I love really on display.
Wow.
Yeah.
Diko, I think the first time I learned about you and your brand was at Columbia Fashion Week. And I'd like to know a little bit more about how you bring your brand into the community and how you help people access your incredible style, by the way.
Thank you. I'm also I moved here in 2016.
Okay.
So my husband is American, and I've been in the US for 20 years. Vacation, and then actually moved here. And when the Army told us it will be South Carolina, and he's stationed in Sumter, retired now, but I looked, okay, what's out there? What can I do? Where can I showcase my brand? So I find out about AUXdacity, and I signed up for it in October 2016. And for 1 year, I used AUXdacity as my platform to show my brand, who I am. And then during AUXdacity, oftentimes other creatives came by, so I got to meet more creatives. They took me in their circle, which helped me a lot. And I participated in every fashion show out there. Now I'm more selective, but back then I thought, this is a great opportunity to bring out my name. And then I rented a studio at Taps on Main Street.
Wow, yes.
And that place was so fantastic. I loved it. And then in 2019, it got sold. So December, we moved to 5 Points. So for me, it's very good to have a brick and mortar because I have often just walk-in customers. And then USC parents are always in 5 Points.
Always.
That helps me a lot to bring new customers. And then I still do fashion shows. Columbia Fashion Week is one of my favorites. And because I'm local and we support each other, and since Juliette Muller took it over, I'm a part of it. I love what she does. And I'm also a board member of the Alliance. So that helps. And I'm a board member of Columbia Design League. So everywhere where I can have my influence or help, I take part of it. And yeah, through fashion shows, you build that circle. And it's like, here I saw another designer is at the show, and I was wondering who it is, and then I'm like, yeah, family.
See, I'm not super fashionable, so I don't know I know Columbia Fashion Week. I don't know all the events, but I'm sure it's a ton for you guys. But do you sometimes feel like being in South Carolina, you're limited on the exposure or opportunities as if you were in Atlanta or New York or Paris, of course,
Yes and no. I think, again, Columbia Fashion Week, luckily they do a lot. But I did also showcase at New York Fashion Week. And interestingly, when I came back, people were like, oh, she was at New York Fashion Week. So I had to go away and come back so that people
gain credibility.
Yes. So that was interesting. But I mean, I think we have a good amount of fashion, and then with social media, using that and get connected with USC. I mean, we do have opportunities here. You just have to know which one and where to go.
We had to choose a genre of music, and this is for both of you guys. We had to pick a genre of music that best reflects, answer both of this, your personal style and your designs. Like, what genre of music would you choose?
That's hard because I love EDM.
Yes.
So that's, as an adult, I listen to EDM and I still do. I do love hip hop. I started listening to hip hop also in the mid-90s. And it was one song, my favorite song was Quiet Storm from Mobb Deep featuring Lil Kim. That was it's still my favorite song out there. And and then of course goth music. So it's a combination of all three, I would say. I can't just say this is it. It's all three. It depends on my mood. But it's all three musics. I can see that.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
I would say as a blend between like jazz and hip hop. I think personally, like on my daily, I probably would consider it like jazz because you wake up. It depends on how you wake up. You catch a rhythm. I think life has a rhythm. Everything has a certain rhythm to it. So sometimes I feel like jazz, And then when I'm stepping out on the weekend and whatnot, that's all hip hop. You think about the name of my brand, it's inspired by hip hop. So yeah, I would say between, and not the latest hip hop. I want to say late '80s, early '90s.
Okay.
A little bit of the 2000s, but yeah, that's my era of hip hop.
Yeah. Again, going back to kind of fashion rules. Have you guys ever taken like a risk? Like man, I don't know if this is like how this is gonna work out, and it's paid off. Like, has that ever happened to you, Diko?
Yes, and it was just recently. So I always like to learn something new, and as a kid I learned weaving, and I thought about it. Yeah, something new I have to add in my craft, and then I saw this weaving course, and I took part of it, and then I created this piece where I weave the pockets out of scraps I have. I cut the linen. And the feedback is so amazing. But first, I did not know if that would work together or if my sewing machine will sew it on. But luckily, it all worked. And now I'm so into it. I want to make a whole piece out of weave. And then also with the color black, I'm in South Carolina where people love color.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest risk. And I thought I stick with it. And during COVID, I took marketing classes, and there I learned one sentence: what you design is not for everybody. The person who would love it, they will find you and purchase it. So I have that in my mindset, and I think there are people like me who love wearing black. They will find me. And so I think that was one of the biggest risks I took coming to South Carolina and having a clothing line based on the color black.
Yeah, that's some good advice for
creatives
in general. Right?
Yes.
A lot of times you're concerned about, man, where's my audience or who my audience is. It's like, just create the thing and your audience will find you.
Yeah,
or you'll find them. Yeah.
And it's definitely easier now with social media because one good reel can take you, to where you're worldwide at that point. So makes it a little easier. So it starts in South Carolina, but would you say where would you, if you had to leave South Carolina and expand, what would be home? The ideal fashion home?
So either New York City or Tokyo.
Tokyo?
Yes.
Okay.
Either. Sometimes I tell my husband, let's move to Tokyo. And he looks at me like, no, let's stay here. But yeah, New York City. I love New York City. And when I'm there and I get off the taxi and I'm like, yeah, this is home. Everybody dressed the same way I do. I need to be here.
It's like, these are my people.
Yeah, I always feel that in New York. So I think mainly New York, secondary Tokyo.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah.
I'm thinking LA. I think LA is really an eclectic scenery out there. And so, with what I do, I think the colors will really pop. And, you can wear anything I create, you can wear all seasons out there.
Yeah.
So I think LA, and then maybe Atlanta. I just think Atlanta is like a hub for all things fashion right now.
It is, yeah.
And so I think either LA or Atlanta.
Yeah. I want to play a quick game with you all. Okay. So just make one choice, this or that.
Okay.
Okay. Sneakers or heels?
Sneakers.
Okay. Vintage or new?
New.
Bold colors or all black? Well,
All black.
what if you switched it up? Anyway. Studio or stage?
Studio.
Okay. Chris,
Yes.
this or that?
Okay.
Real fast.
I got you.
Vintage or new?
Vintage.
Studio or stage?
I like the studio. Yeah.
Okay. Bold colors or all black?
Bold colors.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the future of fashion, y'all.
Okay.
So where do you see fashion moving in, let's just keep it easier, the next 10 years?
So the next 10 years, I think that hopefully people wake up and stop purchasing fast fashion, because it's so bad for the skin, the environment, for everything. So, and I think AI might have an influence in it because people use it, and and I think people care more about, so people are waking up, and I see that in the younger generations. My daughter is 15, my younger daughter, and I see that they care more about quality and want to have pieces they last. So I think that's the future. Paying more attention on quality instead of fast, cheap fashion.
As an actual designer, like I don't want to say the names, but we know a couple fast fashion retailers. How do you see us fighting that in any kind of way? Because it starts with the economy. It's affordable. You know, people might, especially with social media now, they may only wear things one time. Once they wear it out, they feel like, oh, I can't wear it again. So it's just the easiest. How do you feel like we can, as a designer, like how do you fight that?
So I think best is educate and, start close, like with your children, your partner, your friends, your family, because then they can carry it on. And I think we just have to educate people. I think that's the easiest way. Start small.
Start small. Start small. I want to bring us on home now, and just, since we were talking about the future, let's just give some advice to creatives. So what advice would you give young creators on how to find their own personal style?
Start with your parents. In some cases, you can start with your parents. Like, I know my daughter now, she can go shop in her grandma's closet, and I love her style. So start with the people who came before you, and then, also be aware of what's going on around you. Somebody like an ASAP Rocky probably carries he has a certain taste when it comes to clothing, but he also knows how to curate a line. And so I say start with your parents, and then also be yourself. Just be yourself. What I do is pretty much how I feel in that morning. I could put on a song in that morning and get dressed, and by the time I step out the shower, I know what I'm wearing. So stay yourself. Start with your parents. If your parents don't have style, look at your brothers, your sisters. Like, look at what you relate to, and then take that and bring it to your own. Make it your own.
How about you, Diko? Any advice?
Yeah, I would also say don't be a copycat. Again, I see it at my daughter's school when they have some events, and I ask her, why do everybody look the same? The boys wear the same and the girls wear the same, and I'm so happy that she doesn't. And I think that is so important. Trust yourself and be different. That's okay. You don't have to blend in. That's very important. But of course, that needs courage, because sticking out, you have to have a little bit more confidence. Then blending in is easier. But I would say do it anyway, because you will find your peer, you will find your people who are kind of like you, but you are unique, and uniqueness wins over blending in.
I'm a public school teacher, so I'm going to try to take some of that advice. I'm going to try to find my own kind of style identity. And so my principals say, hey, Mr. Robertson, why you not in a shirt and tie? I was like, that's not me. That's not
I'm trying to stand out.
I'm trying to stand out. I can't be like all the other teachers. Nah, but this has been great. Thank y'all for being here.
Style tells the story before the first note ever plays.
So tap in with us, follow the show, and stay locked in for what's coming next.
Have the audacity to leave your mark.
For those that don't know me, I'm Claudia, and I am here with the Andrea Serrano. I am so excited to interview right now. For those that don't know you, tell them about what you do and why you're here today.
Yes, so I am a wardrobe stylist by trade. I've been doing this for 30 years, believe it or not. Basically, I dress people for a living. I also offer services where I can produce a shoot and hire the creative team. And there always has to be music on set. For me, that is a necessity. Like, music always brings the vibe. When you bring the vibe and the music, that's when the model loosens up, the talent loosens up, everybody gets into the zone, and it makes such a big difference. So my title is a vibe facilitator. So music is always like, you got to have a playlist.
That a vibe facilitator. I might have to use that one day.
Yes.
I need a vibe facilitator in here, please. How has music shaped your creative eye throughout your career?
Wow. It started at a very young age. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s watching MTV. And MTV was like your go-to for pop culture, whether it was music or fashion.
Are there any genres or an artist that instantly spark any visual inspiration for you?
Gosh, it goes from everything from the avant-garde. I love a chaperone, a Lady Gaga. You know, am I gonna dress like that every day? No, but like as far as conceptual and artistic take on styling, I really admire those artists.
So, if fashion had a soundtrack to your life right now, what would it sound like?
Oh my gosh. Maybe Shaka Khan, I'm Every Woman.
I love that.
Just because I wear a lot of hats, I love Shaka Khan. I love music that just is joyful, that's happy, inclusive, that celebrates life, that celebrates empowerment. And so that would be the soundtrack of my life, of me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This was so fun. And I'm excited to see what your future ends up, you know, what happens in your future. So I'm super excited about that.